Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everybody, welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips and I'll be your host for the next hour. For this evening's topic, I thought we could talk about work-life balance. Work-life balance. Might not seem like a spiritual or metaphysical topic, but I mean really it is, because it's all about you looking after yourself and having the appropriate balance between all the different aspects of your life. And what inspired me to talk about this was I was actually reading some statistics from the Better Life Index. The Better Life Index, and it's a study that's done every year by the OECD. And it's to help governments implement policies that improve the well-being of their citizens. And they look at topics ranging from housing, income, jobs, community, education, environment, governance, health, life satisfaction, safety, and work-life balance. And Canada does okay in some of those areas. So, for example, on health, it's number 2 in the world in terms of how healthy its citizens are, right? Which is really great. But on work-life balance, it's number 21. And there are 38 countries in this annual index that's published. And so that's even below the midpoint. So it seems like people in Canada are working really hard, much harder than some of the other countries, and so I thought it was worth us talking about that. So, are you somebody that works really long hours and has little time left over for friends and family and relaxation, or is your work-life balance feel good? And if you have any tips on how to have a really great work-life balance, we would love to hear from you. Now, the place where I was reading it's just one of these free magazines that you pick up. And so they'd made a thing of a few different strategies to help you if you're working too hard. And, I guess some of them, they're a bit tongue-in-cheek. But I thought, of course, I'm always going to prescribe meditation. But apart from meditation, what can you do? What can you do when you're stuck for hours at the office? And so here's some of the things that they say. And again, I'd love to hear your tips. So they say if you have a looming deadline, it's keeping you at the office. Of course, meditation is the first one they recommend. But after that, they say shelling pistachios. Because
Not peanuts,
pistachios. Yeah, how bizarre. But they say the rhythmic movement of shelling the pistachios will help you relax. Do you know, I can't say that I feel a rhythmic movement when I shell pistachios, especially when you get those ones that are really hard to open.
At least they didn't say peeling bananas, because then you have a whole pile of bananas on your desk.
Yeah. So, and then they say if you are fighting with a coworker, then do this thing called Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. I can never say it, but it's a ancient Hawaiian practice, which helps you to make separations from somebody. And, basically by saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, and just making separations from them. But then they also say, eat a mushroom. eat 'em.
Well, in BC, that can mean a whole different thing.
Because of the selenium in the mushroom is supposed to help it's supposed to help with depression, anxiety, and fatigue. And they have lots of vitamin D in them, which enhances mood as well. And then if they say you're just so busy that you only have 15 minutes to recharge yourself, then go for a brisk walk, because that calms you down by sparking nerve cells in the brain that relax the senses. Or have a cup of Tulsi tea. And apparently Tulsi tea is a really powerful stress-busting herb, and it helps with adrenal health and stress reduction.
So not British tea then?
No, no, that's got caffeine in it. That'll do the opposite. And then I need a healthy time out. They say go to lunch with a friend, because one of the things that helps reduce the negative effects of stress is friendship, social networks, and also what you should order for your lunch when you go for lunch with your friend is some salmon, because of the omega-3s. And they help reduce bipolar disorder and other mood disorders. And then, finally, if you need a quick de-stress, you should have some aromatherapy and eat some hummus with some vegetables. So there. And then they've got this other thing, which is talking about what you can do in your office. If you're stuck in your office, your work-life balance is all to pot and you're in the office for hours and hours and hours, then what's really good is to really take care of how you stage your office environment. And so by having living things, plants in the space, and also crystals. And they've actually done a 10-year study at Exeter University in the UK, and they found that offices devoid of plants, pictures or souvenirs are the most toxic spaces that you can put a human into. And simple changes like adding a plant or some crystals to your desk could be exactly what you need to get back on track. And so they're talking about using cactuses and succulents and little tiny plants on your desk, and some crystals like quartz and citrine. And they said that citrine is a success stone, and quartz is going to absorb all the radiation from your computer. So there's a few tips when you're overstressed and overworked. How about you, Corey? What would be your number one tip for? Well, two tips. Number one, for helping get into a proper work-life balance. But number two, if unfortunately you're stuck working for long hours, what you can do to cope with that.
Well, first of all, I think you've got to really be diligent in setting that time apart. I mean, the time for relaxation. Setting time apart for work is not difficult. Everybody does that. But yeah, setting time apart for relaxation, you just do it. Just the Nike, just do it. Just set that time. Once you stop working, you stop working. You cut that line. And if you have to work a lot of hours, I used to work a lot of hours before, and what I found was you've got to get up and walk around. Not necessarily for a long walk, but get up, move around every hour or so. Have a drink of water, good big drink of water, and get away from that screen for a little bit, and just take a second, especially if your job is driving in traffic. You've really got to take a break for a little bit, because you're working with a life-taking implement called a vehicle, and so you don't want to stress out too much, especially in our environment here in Vancouver. You want to really take a break. Stop, grab a drink of water, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Walk around the car or the truck a couple of times and go from there.
Well, and one of the things that I think is affecting this a lot is some of the shifts in how we work. Because I think there number one, you just mentioned it, there are a lot more people working in front of computer screens. But number two, on the one hand, we have the flexibility to work from home. Many people have the flexibility to work from home because of the information technology revolution. But I think that, on the one hand, that can be fantastic for work-life balance because you can choose when you want to work. And if you feel like, taking time off during the day and then working in the evening, you can. But the other problem with that, the problem with it is that you can't escape from work because work is where you are living. And so, it can go the opposite way. So I think it really, really does take some strong willpower and boundaries for people.
Maybe just a closed door.
A closed door.
And close your door.
Yeah. The other thing that I noticed in this work-life balance survey was it seems like the Canadians work very hard. The work-life balance is askew, but they comparatively don't earn as much money as a lot of the other nations. And so I think part of why they're working so hard is perhaps because the pay is not as high. Anyway, that's just a little aside. So folks, phone us up. Tell us what your answer is to having a work-life balance out of whack. Of course, you know me, I love meditation, and I think meditation helps with so many things, including this one, because it can help you reset your brain, reset your mind. Because I think that, a lot of people find it hard to leave work behind, and they're still thinking about work and all the things they have to do at work, even when they're not working. And so if you can meditate in between work and home, for example, then you can calm your mind, reset your brain, let go of work until it's time to go back to work again.
I also find classical music, if you play a little bit of classical music in the background, just lightly, not that it's disturbing anybody or anything, I find that helps as well. I've always found classical music in the background really helpful.
While you're working? Even if you have to work with your brain? Yeah.
Especially if you have to work with your brain. Because what a lot of the classical music does, it actually opens the separation between the right and left brain, so that you use both your logic and your creativity.
Yeah, you know what? And I know that, and I've heard that. But for me, I have always found that I can't have background music or noise when I'm working, and that's when I'm working using my intellect or when I'm using my intuition. I like to just be focused on either of those things, and I find that the music, when I'm in trance and doing a reading, for example, makes me drift away, and I find it also takes my attention away when I'm focusing on an intellectual task. And that's just me. Maybe I'm a bit different.
Yeah. Was that actually a question?
Well, not really. We're back on the air. This is Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name is Dr. Lesley Phillips, and we've been talking about work-life balance on the show this evening. And a few other tips I would say is about setting boundaries, because I think what a lot of people end up doing is when you're at work, there's a whole bunch of expectations from your bosses, from yourself, and it can be difficult to set boundaries. It can be really difficult to stand up for yourself and to set some lines in the sand about how, what I will do and what I won't do, how long I will stay at work. And it can be tough when, you're trying to live up to the expectations of your boss. You're trying to get a promotion, and so on. So yeah, stand up and set some boundaries. Hello, caller.
Hi.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you for calling back. I'm sorry that we lost you there.
That's okay.
So who am I talking to?
This is Annette.
Hi, Annette. How are you today?
Well, it was a beautiful day today, so breezy.
Yeah.
I had two questions, and we can, they're not related, but I'm going to ask one first, and then if there's time and no one else is calling, maybe we can get to the second one.
Sure.
The first question was, there's been for years an ongoing wedge between my eldest daughter and myself, and I'm not sure what it is. She's harbored some anger over issues from way back, and I think she feels safe if she cuts me out. So I can't be like a normal mother to her. She's 29 now, and I just wanted to know. I've done some meditations and sent some light to her in the heart-to-heart chakra and the triangle that I had learned about, which has definitely helped me in the past. But I thought you might be able to have. I'm not sure if you can do this, but maybe you can sense or see something.
Yeah, sure. Oh, for sure. I will take a look for you, Annette. And so, give me a moment. I'm going to go into trance and tune into your energy. If you could keep your eyes open while I do that.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to take a look at you, and I'm going to take a look at your daughter. And you probably don't want to say her first name on air, but so I'll just tune in to the eldest daughter. And well, the first thing that I actually want to say is sometimes the people that we clash with the most are the people who are most similar to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it can be like looking in a mirror. It's like looking in yourself. And if there are parts of yourself that you don't want to address or look at, then that can be a reason for pushing that other person away. And that's the first thing that came up is that there's, I call them matching pictures, but it's sort of like when she looks at you, it's like she's looking at herself, and she doesn't want to see herself in you, and so she keeps you at arm's length. And I'll take a look at what in particular it is that's lighting her up, and let's just see. Well, I mean, I think that you probably read it quite well. I don't know what happened earlier on that made her angry, but it does look like she sort of developed a judgment about you earlier in life, and she just said, maybe it's a protection mechanism, but it's just like, well, I don't want to leave an opening for whatever it was that happened to happen again. You can tell me, if you're comfortable telling me a bit more about the time when she first became angry. That might help me get a bit more information about it.
I guess when she was about 15 or 16, and then she had her first boyfriend and moved out, and there was a lot of activity in our home, a lot of people, coming into our house, and not all of the energy was good. I think maybe she blamed me for being too lenient with that.
Yeah.
And that's my instinct as to what, where things went sideways with us.
Yeah. So it looks to me as though that's the age where she started maybe speaking up for herself, but it looks like there's stuff before that as well.
Oh.
So I mean, what was it like for her when she was younger than that? Were you married in a stable relationship? Was there a divorce?
No, yeah, there was. Her father and I separated, and she was always Daddy's girl, but her and I worked together a lot, especially with horses, and we worked together well. But I think she thought that I favored her younger sister, who was more easygoing. The older one is very outspoken and aggressive. But she was always kind of, as a youngster, she was so possessive of me. She never wanted me to go out, and she would get jealous of my relationship with her father. There was always a certain, this is what I think, going back, she came into this world sort of insecure and demanding.
Right.
She was difficult that way. She always wanted more attention than I felt she needed to have, because I didn't understand why she would even feel insecure.
Right.
Because I was totally loved her and totally there for her, but she's one of those children that want more, so you kind of have to shut them down because it's just getting to be too much.
Right. Okay. So I look at that, and I'm seeing a past life actually come up with respect to that, but also that dynamic of being overwhelmed by her demands and then needing to shut her up, and so because you're a young mum needing to cope with what's going on in the house, but then her pain around it is being shut down. Like being shut down, not being able to fully express myself, not being able to be myself, not being accepted as I am, expressing myself. And so, I'm seeing at age 15, 16 was when she started rebelling against being shut down and being more, outspoken about things. But the whole dynamic, it started earlier than that. And I'll take a look and see what comes up with the past life as well. So just bear with me, and because there's one past life that's showing up quite strongly. And, it actually looks to me like a past life where you were married to each other and that she was... it looks like she was the wife and you were the husband, and it looks the time that it was would be probably late 1700s, early 1800s. It looks like in Europe, and it looks like you were very busy with whatever you were involved in. So it's kind of like you had a job of some kind, and you were always pretty much never home. That it looks like you were some kind of, I don't know whether it's a statesman, but some kind of representative for something, and it involved you traveling, and so you would spend weeks away from home, and then when you were home there was a workplace that you went to. And it's so funny that we started out tonight talking about work-life balance, but I'm seeing that she was sitting at home the whole time, because it wasn't a time when women could go out to work, and so she was. And it looks as though for some reason you didn't have children together. And so it sort of, she was just like super bored. And And it looks like, when you would be home, she would crave your attention and want every ounce of attention from you. But when you would be home, you would be like, well, this is my downtime. I just need to relax. And so it looks like there is a past life where there was that kind of dynamic of her desperately needing and wanting your attention, not and you again, like, just for your own sanity, needing to shut her down, or needing to to relax and not have to come home and be on and be and so I'm seeing that, you said, well, she came into this world already so demanding. That's why the dynamic of the relationship between the two of you started out the way it started out. And if I look at, what each of you is learning about, I mean, one of the things that she's learning about is that, well, it's really that other people, that she's the one that's responsible for how she feels. And actually other people are not responsible for that. And you're learning that you're not responsible for the way other people feel. So you're learning to let go of responsibility for her, and she's learning not to blame others for her own creations. Right.
So maybe we'll get a balance. That's so interesting, because when she was young, I remember a friend of mine said, "Oh, she's acting like a jealous husband."
Well, there you go.
That's how she would act if I talked to people. And then somebody else said to me that I said, yes, my daughter's biggest ambition is to be my best friend, or to not be my daughter, but to be she'd be jealous of anything or everything that I did.
Yeah.
That was away from her, and it was really hard, because it was out of balance. And now I feel bad that she suffered that back then, but she really was, even in the womb, anxious. I could feel it. Like, there was an anxiety about her, and a certain frailty of being like she was being abandoned, and I could never figure it out why because she's so intensely strong, this girl, and dynamic and intelligent and sparkling and vivacious. But she had this weird insecure side to her that I always thought was past life. I forgot about the past life question, so you brought it up. But thank you so much. So I would think that just relaxing and just letting her know I'm available and just be patient, I suppose she'll come around. I mean, she has a new man in her life that she seems to be kind of obsessed with right now, so I don't really hear from her much, or nobody hears from her. I think it's a little out of balance and unhealthy, and I'd hate to see her get hurt and drive him away by that same tendency. But there's only so much you can do for somebody.
Well, she had, it's exactly, you're not responsible for her. You can't learn her lessons for her. You can't live her life for her. And it does look like she's very focused on this man that she's in a relationship with right now.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, it does. And sure, it is a pattern that she sort of resources herself from other people's attention. But exactly, you can't learn her lessons for her. She has to go through whatever life experiences that she will go through in order for her to learn in her own way and her own time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, exactly. Just pull back and...
Yeah, thank you. And I don't know if you have another caller waiting, then I can sign off. And
no, we don't actually. So I'll take your second question and through to the break.
I feel like I could ask about the second daughter, but there's something else that's been bothering me for a while, and last night I dreamt about. There's a person that has been deceased now for many years. I've never met him. I only know about him through videos and music. He was a musician. But I feel like sometimes that I'm haunted by him. And about a couple months ago, I had to out loud say, "Leave me alone," because it was infiltrating my thoughts all the time. And that worked instantly, and it sort of came back, and I had to do it again, and it worked. But then last night I had a dream that was so lifelike. It wasn't unpleasant, but I wondered if you could see or sense anything.
What's the name of the musician, the first name?
No, I don't even want to say his name.
Okay. All right. So, haunted by a deceased musician.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look. Is it somebody famous? I'm seeing pictures of somebody famous.
Yes, very famous.
We'd all know, like Elvis or something.
Yes, you would know who it was.
Right. Okay. All right. So, let's take a look. Well, I would just validate that it does look like there's a genuine communication going on. And is it somebody you actually like their music? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean it just looks like the I don't know, the attraction is that you like this person's music and they were appreciating you liking their music, and they were, you know, attempting to make a connection with you. And, you know, people who don't have bodies are all different states of understanding about how to communicate and so on. And some of them don't know as much as others and will tend to be, it can be a bit invasive, right? And so I'm just seeing the intention of this person was to appreciate your appreciation of them.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, so nothing malicious of any kind, but that it was just invading your space and invading your mind space. And, you know, and you just being very strong and saying, enough, move away. They moved away. And so, I mean, what you've demonstrated to yourself there really is that you have the power to decide who you communicate with and how you communicate with them, you know, and that you're calling the shots. And at least this person respected what you said and moved away. And so anyway, I would just validate that the experience that you were having was a real experience. It wasn't your imagination. And, you know, that this person, like I said, they were appreciating you, appreciating them. They don't really necessarily know their boundaries in terms of interacting with people. But it looks like they're learning, and you being very strong and saying move away worked. So if it happens again and you find it uncomfortable, you know what to do. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name's Dr. Lesley Phillips, and I'm the host. We've been talking about work-life balance, amongst other things, this evening. We have another caller on the line. Hello.
Hi, Lesley. It's Lori. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. So you have another question for us this evening?
Yeah, I do. Actually, it's funny you're talking about work-life balance, because this is about friendship balance. And it's been kind of on my mind for a while now. I'm just noticing, like, that, you know, the friends that I want to hang out with, that I feel like I really like and have a lot in common with, it seems like I have to kind of, like, do the work of keeping in touch. Like, it's almost like, it's not necessarily one-sided when we're in touch with each other, maybe, but it just seems like to keep the friendship, it seems like it's up to me. And I'm just feeling kind of like, what's wrong with me, and wondering what you might be able to see around that.
Sure. How many different friends are we talking about, and are they single? Are they in relationships? Tell me a little bit about them.
Okay, well, there's one who is single, and she is quite tired a lot, sick and tired a lot. Another friend is in a relationship, quite serious, but she's always been like that, where it's been more the onus on me to keep in touch. And one friend, a guy friend, we just kind of like stopped being friends because that kind of came up like that it was more of a one-sided friendship.
Right.
I guess it's all different, but it's the same kind of thing. It's like I'm not feeling like
reciprocated. Really,
yeah.
Okay.
And I don't. Maybe it's normal, like for this, like when you're an adult, it's harder or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, before I go into trance and look at your circumstances, I would say it feels, like the older we get, in a way, the harder it can be. But anyway, I'm going to take a look.
Okay, sure.
For you. So I'm going to look at each person one by one, just because I'll look and see if there's a common thread. But I'll just start by looking at each one.
And I was just naming a few. Like there's some people who I just don't even bother then, And
yeah. Well, I mean, it just looks like the lady who's in a relationship. She just looks like her life is fairly full already, and so she doesn't make an effort, in a way, because she doesn't need to, and it's sort of like a self-centered thing, in a way. But it's just that she doesn't, and it doesn't look like it's necessarily. Let's see. It just looks like she has a lot of choice and a lot of things going on in her life, and she just doesn't necessarily juggle everything,
Okay.
And then the lady who's single and tired a lot, she looks like she's got some stuff going on in her third chakra, which is the one that relates to energy distribution. And well, she just looks like she's got some of her own stuff going on. And so one of the things that came up to say was just looking at how you spend time with these people. And because like on the one hand, female friendships are often very much about sharing what's going on in our lives with each other, and all of that. But I'm seeing that having a balance between that and just having fun, just doing something fun and light. Like I don't know whether it's I don't know, going to a play or going to a movie, and then or going for an ice cream by the seaside, or just sort of making it more activity based and fun and light, and having a balance between the sharing of the life issues and and other stuff. Because this other example, this lady that's tired a lot, she that looks like her main issue is just like having the energy, in a way. Having the energy and feeling like she doesn't have the capacity to give because she's dealing with her own stuff. And so finding ways to sort of spend time that are gentle and fun and not demanding on a on a everyone getting into their stuff kind of a level looks like might work better with her. And so I think that you're dealing with perhaps different reasons for different people. But the one tip that came up was the balance between when to share all about everything that in your life and your feelings versus having a balance with just having some fun. You know, getting away from what's going on in the mind a little bit.
So not to talk so much about what's going on with me or whatever, but just having a good time, basically.
Yeah, it just looks like having a balance. You know, we're talking about balance, and it looks like having a balance between just doing something fun, hanging out, talking about some lighter stuff, as well as, you know, the supportive stuff that friends do for each other.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what's coming up.
Because I also thought, well, sometimes, like, the one who's hired makes more of an effort for, you know, someone who is in her building and they both walk their dogs together, and I just thought, well, yeah, I guess she has to walk her dog, but no, it just seemed like she wasn't like that, maybe necessarily with everyone is bad, I don't know, but maybe she is, so.
Well, yeah, and like I said, it's also... well, it just looks like the conversation between her and the lady that go for a walk with the dogs is light, you know. It's like
lighter.
Yeah, I don't know, like, oh, you know, did you see what the building manager posted in the hallway? Or, oh, look, so and so left their laundry, or, you know, I'm just making stuff up, but it just looks like it's not necessarily the deep, meaningful stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
all right.
So yeah, I would say, just as a tip, it's just about keeping things light and on the fun side, so that you have a balance between the you know, going into the sort of deeper, more supportive type of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, having more fun.
Okay, good.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, like, I know, I don't know, I just thought maybe it's something about me, because I know sometimes, like, everything is fine, and then they just don't, like someone else I was thinking about
Right.
a long time ago. We were both moving to another city, and she wanted to keep in touch and everything, and then all of a sudden it just seemed like she wasn't, and it was really hard to get in touch with. Like, so I just thought, oh, maybe there's something about me that people don't like.
Well, I think everybody's different, and you know, just yeah. All right. Well, I hope we've helped you. I guess we do have a couple of email questions that we said we'd try and get to.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we'll speak to you again soon, Laurie.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.
So, Corey, we have there's, I think, the lady at the top of the list there. I said I'd answer her on the show tonight.
Okay. And that's from comments.
I can't remember what the question was, but it's the one that's about 3 or 4 lines long.
Yeah. And it's, hi, Dr. Lesley. I'm having some difficulty moving out of my current position to pursue a new position in interior design. I feel like something is holding me back, and I can't figure out what it is. Can you tell me if I have anything blocking me in my career arena, or anything I can do to start moving in a new direction? Thank you.
Okay, that's the one. I'll take a look at that. Do we have a name? Well, that's the real name there, but
let's call her Anne-Marie.
Okay, Anne-Marie. Let's take a look. Okay, that's reminded me of what her real name is, so I'll take a look and find out for you. So we're looking at your career and wanting to make a shift to a new interior design position, and what's holding you back. See, I see it. So this is a sort of metaphorical symbolic image, but I see you holding this sort of rectangular box. And whatever it is that's in this rectangular box is representing what is holding you back from making some changes. And on the one hand, it feels a bit like a box of memories or a box of achievements, like almost like a box of sort of like, well, I did that and I followed through on that, and and that was a dream of mine, and and then there's this other thing, so and so seemed to really like what I did there, and it just looks like a box of little merit badges almost. Almost, I don't know. For some reason, I'm thinking about little dragonflies, but badges. But it's like a box. It's a box of merits, and it's sort of like the times when you felt like you did a good job, or somebody praised you, or you were rewarded for something that you did, and it just looks like you're holding on to them for some reason, and for some reason that is preventing you move forward. So let me just give me a moment to see what that's to do with. Oh yeah, it's to do with it's the difference between setting yourself completely free, to be completely creatively free, to do what feels right for you as part of your creative flow, versus having to restrict your creativity in order to do a job that fulfills somebody else's expectations, whether it's a boss or whether it's a client. It's almost like, well, the mark of success is when somebody who you've been doing a job for, whether it's a boss or a client, says, good job. And the good job has been you trying to create something that is perfectly in accordance with what they have said that they want from you. And it's sort of like, well, that's okay, but that's not the same as me unfettered, creating completely freely from my own source of inspiration. And I'm seeing that what you're wanting to move into is some kind of situation where you get to decide how to create and how something looks, and without being bound by those limits. So what you're after is creative freedom, and what you're stuck on is that the belief that it's not possible to have that creative freedom because you're always having to live up to what somebody else is wanting. You're having to deliver according to somebody else's ideas and expectations, and yet here are you're the designer and the one with the expertise, and they necessarily might not have that. So I'm going to have to wrap up, unfortunately, because got 1 minute to go. But that's what I'm seeing the block is. You're wanting complete creative freedom, and you feel bound by the expectations of other people, limiting the expression of your creativity in accordance with what they're wanting.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.